Today we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite topics in the entire world, and that is how to find cheap flights. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sally.
And I'm Ed, and we make travel content here on YouTube every single week. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you do not miss out on any of this travel goodness. Now, if you've been following this channel for a little while, you would know that we spent the last 2 years traveling and we've taken quite the number of flights.
We have been on a lot of flights, and along the way I like to think that we've gotten pretty good at not only finding but also booking cheap flights. So in today's video we're going to be sharing with you guys some of the tips and tricks we've learned along the way so that you can start getting cheap flights too.
Now, I have to be completely honest with you guys. I don't find the flights, I don't book the flights, I don't get it. Well, no, I get on the flights.
No, you get on the flights.
But that's about all I do. So I'm going to take this moment right now to exit the video, and I'm going to leave you in the more than capable hands of this flight wizard Sally.
Alrighty guys, let's get started. Now before you even begin searching for cheap flights, the first thing that you're going to want to do is go into your internet browser settings, clear all your cookies, and go into incognito mode. Now that you have done that, let's talk about how to find cheap flights. If you have super specific dates that you absolutely must travel on, then I'm gonna be honest with you right now, you actually might struggle to find the best possible deals. And I feel like this kind of goes without saying, but you also want to try and avoid traveling in super peak times like Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, times when lots of other people are traveling, because it's pretty hard to get deals during those times unless you plan your trips well in advance. And to be honest, like, who wants to plan Christmas plans in January? But if you can be a little bit flexible, then you're gonna find that you can actually save a lot of money. So there are 4 main websites that I like to use when I am looking for cheap flights: Google Flights, Skyscanner, Kayak, and Momondo. What I like to do is kind of have a look on all of them to see which site is offering the best deals. Just because you see a cheap flight on Skyscanner doesn't necessarily mean that Google Flights is also going to be having the same cheap fare. I know it sounds weird, but I've just found that it is best to compare. What I like about all 4 of these websites is the ability to do flexible searches. So with Skyscanner, you can put in, say, your point of origin, say you're flying from Sydney, and then you can put in a search to everywhere. And if you want to get even more flexible, let's say you want to go for a holiday in June, you can put in the whole month of June. So you can search from Sydney to everywhere for the whole month of June, and Skyscanner will tell you the cheapest flights to destinations all over the world. Depending on which website you're using, they each have like a different way of doing flexible searches. Google searches, you can, kind of similar to Skyscanner, you put in your point of origin, so let's say we're in Sydney, and then you can do a search for like up to 6 months. And what I like about Google Flights is that it's a map interface. So you're just like hovering around looking at the map, and you can kind of be like, oh, do I want to go to Africa? Do I want to go to Europe? You know, maybe I want to go to South America. I don't know. The world is your oyster. Now, I understand that not everyone has the flexibility or really wants to just travel to wherever is necessarily the cheapest. Let's say you want to fly to Southeast Asia, right? And Thailand is kind of the destination that you really want to go to. But when you have a look, you realize that flights to Thailand are actually pretty expensive. Well, what you can do is have a look around. Maybe there are flights to Malaysia or Singapore, Cambodia, all countries that are very close to Thailand that might be significantly cheaper. And then from there, you can just get a short flight from, say, let's say we fly into Malaysia. You can then just hop on a short flight or even a train or a bus from Malaysia to Thailand. Quite often, the route is a big determining factor in how much the flight actually costs, which can be a bit funny because it's not necessarily always the distance that you're flying. Sometimes actually flying further distances or even taking a flight that has more than one stop can be a lot cheaper than a flight that is shorter or direct, which I know sounds a little bit weird and counterintuitive. For example, when Ed and I were in Sri Lanka, we actually flew to China. We flew from Colombo to Beijing and then from Shanghai back to Colombo. And we flew with Singapore Airlines in business class, and we got a pretty good deal. The flights were just under $1,100 for the open jaw return flight. And what's interesting about this flight is you fly from Colombo to Singapore, Singapore to Beijing, and then Shanghai, Singapore, Singapore, Colombo. However, if you were to fly from Singapore to Beijing, Shanghai to Singapore, that flight would have been closer to $3,000. So even though Ed and I took an extra flight from Colombo to Singapore, it was cheaper than if we had have flown from Singapore. So I know that that sounds a little bit weird, but sometimes if you play around with the actual routing of where you're going from and where you're going to, you can save yourself a lot of money. Now the next tip is to actually split your journey into 2 round trip legs. When I was looking for flights from Sydney to Nepal, the flights were actually pretty expensive. But what I found was that flights from Sydney to China were cheap and flights from China to Nepal were fairly cheap. What I basically did was booked 2 one-way flights to make 1 cheaper flight. We were only doing this one way because after Nepal we headed into India. But I have actually done this same thing, booking 2 return flights. So let's say we want to fly from New York to the Maldives in July, right? And you have a look, and a round trip ticket from New York to the Maldives is around about $1,800. So you do a quick little search and you find that actually from New York you can fly to Bangkok for $600 round trip, and then from Bangkok to the Maldives you can fly for around $429 round trip, which brings your total trip up to $1,229, and bam, you have instantly saved $400 just by splitting up your journey into 2 legs. Now, the only problem with doing it this way is that if you're on a bit of a time crunch, it's probably not going to be the best way for you, because usually you're going to need to have at least 12 hours in between landing and flying out. I mean, you don't really need 12 hours, but I get like travel anxiety, so I like to give myself at least 12 hours just in case. Because if you're booking your flights this way, you're gonna have to arrive, collect your bags, go through security, recheck your bags, recheck in, re-go through security, and then fly to your next destination. So if you want to do it on the same day, you need to give yourself at least, all right, 12 hours is a bit long. Let's say you need to give yourself at least 8 hours leeway, just in case. You know, you gotta account for flight delays, maybe the airport's really busy, you know, you got to account for all of those things. So at least give yourself 8 to 12 hours. Now, to be honest, this is not the most convenient way to fly from point A to point B, but if you're wanting to save some money, this can be a really, really, really good way to do so. Now, if you're not somebody who's obsessed with looking at flights every single day like I am, then what you can actually do is sign up to a website that will send you flight deal notifications. So there are a couple of different websites that I actually like to use for this, and those websites include Scott's Cheap Flights, Secret Flying, Fairdrop, and also Mighty Travels Premium. This is not sponsored, by the way. These are just things that I genuinely use and love. It takes all of the stress out of searching and finding flight deals, and basically just does it all for you. So what you can do with these websites is you can put in the airports that you want to fly out of and basically tell them where you want to fly to, and they will send you flight deal notifications pretty much every day. I get like 6 notifications from Secret Flying every single day. And a lot of these companies, they will also send you flight notifications when there is an airfare. Now, if you don't know what an airfare is, it's basically when an airline accidentally prices a flight way too low. And it can happen for a number of reasons, but these airfares usually only last for like a couple of hours at a time. And if you don't know about them, then you're gonna miss out. I would definitely check out those 4 websites, see which one you like best. I actually subscribe to all of them because I am a massive flight nerd. There are some more advanced techniques like fuel dumping, which I don't think we'll go into in this video. I think that's like a more advanced topic. I feel like we would need quite some time to explain what fuel dumping is. And it's very technical and it's not super interesting, and I feel like 90% of you probably won't care. But maybe I'm wrong. So if you would like a whole video on fuel dumping, what it is and how you can use it to get cheap flights, let me know in the comments down below and I will make that video. Amy's back.
How good was that? Is she not the best at picking flights? Like I wouldn't even know where to begin, and we would have spent thousands of more dollars had I been the one booking these flights. So I am so grateful for this one right here, saving us all that sweet, sweet coin.
I think you're being too kind. Anyways, guys, I really hope you found this helpful. These are just some of the things we do, but if I missed out on anything that you do, let me know in the comments down below, because I am obsessed with getting cheap flights. So if there are any tricks that you have, let me know, because I would love to hear them. That's it. We're out.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it.
And guys, we'll see you in the next video.